Hi, and welcome to the Public Healthpreneur podcast. I am your host, Quisha Umemba, the Public Healthpreneur. I am super excited to be speaking with you in this exclusive extended interview that comes as a bonus to those that purchase and read the book. I'm going to share a little bit more about myself, not give away too much, of course, and really just kind of the journey of the book and how it unfolded. I am going to also share some information that I've asked of my other co-authors as well. So let's see where this conversation goes today. Hopefully, you get as much out of this extended interview as you do in reading the contents that I have written in the book itself. So again, my name is Quisha Umemba. I am a registered nurse. I tend to forget that. I have been a nurse right at 15 years now. I've been in public health for almost a decade as well. You'll read in the book, kind of the realizations I came to as I was nursing and caring for patients by the bedside. And initially, those kind of aha moments and epiphanies that really helped me transition into public health. I like to refer to myself as the nurse that got bit by the public health bug because I love all things public health. And it just made sense to me. I really try to encourage more nurses to go into public health nursing or some type of public health background, because I think that it marries perfectly with how we're taught to care for individuals. You're just scaling up that care and taking care of counties, states, zip codes, just entire communities and populations. And so I thought that it really was just kind of the perfect transition outside of or when I left, rather, bedside nursing. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Let me pull up my questions here, but not a whole lot because, of course, it's in the book and you can always go back to the book and read those things. But aside from being a registered nurse and having worked in SICU, having worked in long-term care, I've also worked in, it seems like I've done moonlighting everywhere from oncology to med surg to telemetry. I spent probably the longest amount of time in endocrinology. So I worked in a diabetes and endocrinology clinic, and that's where I got my introduction to diabetes care and education, and absolutely fell in love with the process. A lot of people don't like working in diabetes. It's not something that's immediate, right? When you help your clients, you're providing education, you're providing teaching and training on nutrition and how to monitor their blood sugars and take their medications and insulin. You don't see an overnight change. It may take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And a lot of people get frustrated with MET, but I found it to be intriguing. I found it to be challenging, but I also saw how much patients needed to have that consistent support, that long-term support, and how, those baby steps could be taken over a series of months to achieve those goals. So I actually just fell in love with the process and the fact that the entire care team was involved and the entire family was involved in that process as well. And I think that's probably where not probably in the book I described, that's where the biggest kind of realization to where social determinants of health actually influenced an individual's health more than the actual disease, the actual condition. The care that they're getting from their health team. So I'll let you read more about that in the book. If you have already, that's great. A little bit about my public health background. And so I've had 2 positions in public health, one as a chief nurse at the Houston Health Department and the other as a diabetes nurse consultant at the Texas Department of State Health Services. And honestly, probably the later second half of my time at the health department is really when I thought, I think I could probably do this for myself. I'm doing a lot. I'm wearing a lot of hats. I'm working on a lot of projects. I've learned so much, and I think I might be able to start business for myself. Now, here's something that I didn't talk about in the book. I alluded to it, but I did not talk about it. My public health consultancy, Umemba Health, is my 3rd attempt at business. Okay. I started a business called Diabetes Pros, focused on diabetes education and management. And it was not successful. Didn't know anything about business, but I got a website. I got business cards. I started saying, hey, I provide diabetes training and education on the side. I speak on diabetes I help individuals control, or not control, but manage their diabetes. And that was not very successful because I had no business acumen at all. I just knew I had this abundance of knowledge and skill set that I felt I could put to better use if I was outside of the confinement of a traditional work setting. And that was the first attempt. That lasted a year. I let the website go. I basically closed down that business. I think I made $700 that year and said, this is too much. It's just too difficult. And then about a year later, I went into a partnership with two other women. So we were chronic disease education consultants. I was actually, there were two RNs. We had two RNs. We were both CDCESs, certified diabetes care and education specialist. And we also had a RD, a registered dietitian, who was also a CDCES. And again, started a business where we were providing nutrition, diabetes education, consulting, mostly training. Hadn't really got to the consulting part yet. And we're driving around Houston, providing workshops and doing trainings to staff at airports or at community centers, or anyone that needed that type of service for their population, employees, etc. That business was short-lived as well. I was with that partnership for about 18 months because I and my family transitioned to Austin, Texas. And so I took more of a back seat where I was doing things like managing the blog, doing the social media content, things like that. And finally just realized it's not the partnership that is probably going to pay off the best. And I'll be honest, very transparent. I really wanted us to go virtual. I saw this trend coming way before COVID. And I said, we need to get some virtual courses. We don't need to just drive all over Houston, drive all over the state offering these trainings. I think we should, and I kept pushing this, I really think we should make some online courses about diabetes, about nutrition, about this. It'll be innovative. Nobody's doing this yet. Let's do it. And so while I think I was a little bit ahead of the curve in innovation as it relates to training and development, my partners were not necessarily there yet. So that was my second attempt at business. Again, to me, it was not a success, but I learned so much, so many lessons learned about myself and about how I work with partners as well. And then, of course, my third attempt at business, and the third time is the charm, is my public health consultancy, Umemba Health. Umemba Health is public health workforce development, consulting, and training. We help healthcare systems and public health departments, nonprofits, corporate agencies, any agency that provides services to health and human services to the public, to communities. We help them educate their workforce, empower their leaders, and expand their community presence so that they can elevate the lives of the individuals and communities they serve. I absolutely love how we serve every single day. We're probably most renowned for our community health worker training and certification. However, we provide a number of different services. So curriculum development, curriculum design, auditing, revision, anything that has to do with curriculums, we are specialists in that area. We do a lot of facilitation of workshops and training programs. We do online e-learning courses. We do continuing education. We do some program development and implementation as well. So if an organization wants help in developing maybe a CHW-led program, we can provide assistance with that as well. And I use my experience as a registered nurse and a CHW supervisor in the past to also consult with organizations on how to integrate them in the clinical setting. So a lot of people are familiar with CHWs working primarily in the community. Thankfully, now we're starting to see where healthcare agencies and organizations are seeing the value of having CHWs embedded in the care team as well. And so I do provide that type of assistance and consulting as well. We do a lot of stuff. I won't go into it. Read the book. You'll see ways that we provide our services, but you also can visit our website, umembahealth.com. So let me talk about, now that I've given you that kind of robust background and introduction, I really want to talk about the book and how it shaped out, and really the backstory behind the book and even some of the challenges when it came to writing the book as well. So, first things first, why did I write the book on public health entrepreneurship? I will be honest. Um, it actually in 2021, and I found that I was actually on a flight and I had my phone in my hand and I was bored and I was trying not to fall asleep and I was in a dreaded middle seat. My goodness. And I said, well, let me go through my notes on my iPhone because I'm sure I have a million notes and I'll just clear out what I don't want on my iPhone. And I found a note from April 2021, and it's March of 2024 as the time of this recording. April 2021, that had a list of questions that I was going to ask fellow public health consultants to put in a book. And the questions were things like, what did you wish you knew about business before you started? What do you wish somebody had told you and you didn't? What would you tell somebody that wanted to start their own public health consulting business? It was maybe 10 or 12 questions that I wanted to interview my colleagues and compile those responses and put in a book. And of course, I'm right in the middle of writing the book when I see that, and it blows me away that I've manifested this book 3 years prior. Because in the just kind of daily, day-to-day movement in my business and in business operations, I really wasn't thinking about a book. And so in the summer of 23, I got an opportunity to write, to be a co-author on a book called Women in Nursing, the Entrepreneur Anthology Volume 1. And so this book featured 10 nurses that were also entrepreneurs. And the focus of the book was to share our experiences, share our journey, share challenges, lessons learned, advice to fellow nurses that are thinking about or contemplating going into entrepreneurship. And we did the book. It took about 6 months. I wrote a chapter in the book. And of course, all of my other co-authors wrote a chapter in the book. And that was when the light bulb went off like, oh, I think I can do this for public health. Again, not even thinking about that note that was in my iPhone from April 2021. But just coming off the tail end of this experience, writing this book and collaborating with 9 other nurse entrepreneurs, I thought I could certainly do that as it relates to public health entrepreneurship. I know tons of public health entrepreneurs. We all have different experiences. I think this would actually be really great. And there's nothing been done like this. There's no book that's been written on public health entrepreneurship, aside from my ebook. I think this would actually be a really good idea. So I found a publisher that I thought we would work really good together, that has really good experience and success in publishing Black women's books. And I set out to find co-authors. Now, my ultimate goal in writing this book was to find 9 other co-authors, public health entrepreneurs, that would want to be featured in the book and feature their business experience and testimonials in the book, just based on their experience as a public health consultant. And I remember specifically telling Whitney, that's the name of my publisher, I know so many. It's going to be easy to find public health consultants. And so my criteria was probably a little bit strict. When I first started out, I wanted full-time consultants, right? You had to be 100% self-employed. I wanted entrepreneurs that had made at least 6 figures in their business, because the subtitle is navigating the intersection of purpose and profit. And one of the goals or messages that we're trying to convey is you can make impact working for yourself, being self-employed as a consultant, but you can also make a decent income as well. And so I wanted to make sure that my writers also fit the bill and understood this message as well, so that they could convey that across in their writing also. I did not think it would be hard to find consultants that fit that criteria. And I also did not think it would be difficult to find consultants that were eager to share their experience. I was wrong on both of those cases. And so again, and being very transparent, there are a lot of consultants that are doing this work that are just like I did when I was first started. They're side hustling, right? So they're not 100% full-time yet, or and they don't want to be. And you don't have to. You can do this work and still keep your day job. However, depending on where you work and depending on the policies, you can't be as vocal, and you don't want to be as vocal about your side hustle as you would if you were working 100% for yourself. So I came across that. That was a big challenge. Another challenge that I came across, and I'll get back to, those that were not really interested in being featured in the book and the different reasons. But I'm thinking about, I really wanted this book to be as diverse as the readership. Initially, Vanessa DaCosta, my co-author, Dr. Giovanni Spinner, who is a co-author, and Jamitra Hawkins Sneed came on initially, saw the vision, thought that it made a lot of sense with where they were in their business and the opportunity that presented itself, and they immediately came on board. But that was it. I could not find, and we're all Black women, right? I really set out on a mission to find public health entrepreneurs that were as diverse as the readers would be, because I wanted men to be represented in the book, or at least to have one male. I wanted white, I wanted Asian, I wanted Hispanic, I wanted Indian. I wanted all of those different backgrounds and ethnicities because of the perspective that they offer, but also because I wanted the readers to be able to see themselves. And for various different reasons, I'm not going to go into all of them in this particular interview, but for various different reasons, I was not able to get those individuals. And so I am proud of the co-authors that came on to the project. I think they're the perfect individuals. I think that individually and both collaboratively, our stories, they just go well together. You can see our differences, but you also can see the similarities, and you can see the trends as well. But I would have loved to have a male entrepreneur, a full-time, self-employed male entrepreneur in the public health space, and to have some other diversity as well. So let's talk about some of the reasons why individuals were not interested. Some of them said it was poor timing, right? This is a 3-month turnaround. Actually, it was a 4-month turnaround. There was a lot on their plate. They didn't have much capacity. Totally understand that. There were some individuals that said, if this was a free opportunity, I would have done it, but I don't really want to invest. So there was a small investment for the co-author. So that was a turnoff for some people. There were some individuals that said, I would love to do this. I really want to check this off. It's always been my goal to write a book, but I'm not going to promote it. And for me, I really want this book to reach the far corners of the earth so that people that want and need this information have this support, have this guidance on how to start their public health consulting business and the opportunities that exist as a public health entrepreneur. And so if authors or potential authors or writers said, you know what, I'm not really going to promote it. It's just something I want to just check off the box. I've always wanted to write a book or be featured in a book. That wasn't the best fit for me as well. And then I had rather, and speaking with consultants, quite a few consultants that said, I don't really think I'm the best to be talking about this or to be writing about this. I only have one client, or, I have 3 clients. They've been my same 3 clients for years. I don't prospect. I don't go out and look for business. I really couldn't tell anybody how to pitch or how to do this or how to do that. So there was a lot of lack of confidence that I saw in the fact that, maybe I started out working for a particular organization, and then the funding, decreased, and then I ended up part-time, and then I ended up as a part-time consultant. And so that really doesn't make me a consultant, not in the traditional sense of being an entrepreneur is. And as much as I would push back to these individuals and say, you've been doing this for 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, you've submitted invoices and wrote proposals, and you've met with stakeholders, and you've had to make sure that you met timelines and achieved deliverables. that makes you an entrepreneur. That makes you, regardless if it's word of mouth, if you're not actively going after business, if you're not doing sales pitches, that still makes you an entrepreneur. That still makes you a public health consultant. But a lot of consultants just did not see themselves as that, in that way, in that light, or that they had that type of expertise to lead others in sharing what they knew from their experiences. And then the last one that I will touch on, and this was probably 3 people that shared this experience or the same feeling with me. And I actually talked about this in the book. There were people that had a problem with the word, if you can see it, profit. And so the book is about public health entrepreneurship, but the subtitle is Navigating the Intersection of Purpose and Profit. And as I wrote in the book, I specifically had a potential co-author say, I don't want my business featured in a book that has the word profit. I don't want my clients to think that I am just in it for the money. And there was a little conversation between she and I, and the other 2 as well, to explain the mindset around this issue that is seen in many helping professions, but specifically in public health. And you will see I write about it a lot in chapter 11 about, the fear of charging for good deeds, and how when you're charging for your services, your products, your expertise, your years of experience and lived experience, that doesn't diminish the work that you do. If you don't charge, you can't be sustainable. There is no impact. There is no impact in income if you don't charge. And so that was a little bit disheartening, but it was also enlightening to see that people at entrepreneurs especially still have that trouble with the projection of making money. And so one of the quotes that I always say, and I actually put it in the book as well, is nobody becomes an entrepreneur to live paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to gyp the organizations that I work with out of their money. That's not the case. It means that I am a really good consultant. I'm really good at what I do. I'm a very good trainer. And there's a certain price tag that comes with that organizations are willing to charge for, because they know they're going to get a good finished product when we're done working with their organization. So that was some of the challenges. That's how the book came to be. And honestly, as much as I would like a diverse authorship, I'm so happy with my co-authors. And again, ladies, if you're watching, I thank you so much for just getting behind the vision and putting your heart and soul into this and making this the Amazon #1 bestseller that it is. I think this is going to really be life-changing for a lot of individuals. And if you haven't finished reading the book, finish reading the book. There's a lot of good information that's in the book. So let's see. Let me go to now ask myself some of these questions that I did ask my co-authors in their interviews, so that I can share more about myself with you. So one question says, if you could look back to one pivotal moment in your life that led you to where you are today, what is that pivotal moment? And I share in the book, there's not one pivotal moment that kind of led me to my journey to entrepreneurship. There are several things that happened, but I will share when I realized that public health entrepreneurship was a realistic option for me. I started the first attempt of business when I worked at the local health department, just when I was putting in so many hours, juggling so many different projects, meeting with different stakeholders, developing programs. I think by the time we developed the 7th program, and I had probably 7 grants for each program that I was managing, and the budgets and the initiatives under each program and the staff tied to each program, I really felt like this is a lot. I love every minute of it. I'm thriving in it. I think I could probably do this for myself. And so again, I still started out very small. It was just me as a solopreneur trying to provide diabetes education and management services to individuals. And then when that didn't work, I thought, well, maybe I need partners. And that's when I started the partnership with those 2 ladies as well. But I will tell you, it's when I took the role of diabetes nurse consultant and went to work for a Texas DSHS, where I really looked and said, oh, this is consulting. So one of the things that I was tasked in doing was providing technical assistance to organizations throughout the state of Texas on incorporating a virtual component of their diabetes self-management education program into a virtual training, virtual education. And I loved what technical assistance looked like. I love providing them with the resources that were tried and true. I love giving them the evidence-based strategies that I had researched for them. I love coming up with creative and innovative ideas that sometimes they would take me up on and implement, and they would put into practice and come back and say, hey, Quisha, that really worked. This is how it went. Or it didn't work. Let's change it up. Let's revise it and improve it. And so once I saw how the process of consulting works, where you are identifying an unmet need, troubleshooting, problem solving, evaluating those processes, and then just the cycle continues and continues, I loved it. And that's when I really knew that public health entrepreneurship, specifically public health consulting, was a viable and realistic option for me. So the next question is, who has been instrumental in your journey into public health entrepreneurship? That's a great question. Personally, family, my husband for sure has been very instrumental in just understanding the highs and lows of business. And I think it's because he comes from a business background that he understands 1 month, it's you balling out of control, right? You got several zeros behind those checks, in the next month or the next 2 months, you may not have anything coming in. And so you've got to make sure that you are managing your finances to make sure that you can withstand those droughts, those seasons of drought. I will also say that professionally, business coaches. I've shared this, maybe not in the book, but I've certainly shared this in interviews. I hired my first business coach the day I incorporated my business. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even have the $300 to start my LLC. So I had to get a DBA because I think it was less than $15. So I spent majority of the money that I had at that time on a business coach, which was $2,000. And then I got a $15 DBA because I was so just bent, for lack of better words, but so determined that this third business was going to work. And I didn't know what I was doing the first time, and I didn't know what I was doing the second time. So the third time, I'm going to make sure that I have mentorship and someone that is there that is going to guide me. 3 months later, I actually did incorporate the LLC, but that was the priority. I've been in business for 4 years. Every year I have a different business coach. So I will have a coach for a year for that particular area in business that I am in. So for instance, my first business coach was taught me all about online courses, online creation, virtual coaching, virtual consulting, business setup, all of those things. My second business coach was a nurse. And so she was a healthcare consultant. She taught me about healthcare consulting, business structure, business models, how to do lead generation, all of that different stuff. My third business coach was someone that was really good with 3 things: pitches, proposals, and partnerships. And at that time, I really felt that was the missing part of my business, was being able to pitch and being able to write proposals or respond to proposals in a way that would make me successful. That coach and the time I spent in her program was instrumental in taking my business to the next level, because it was the missing piece that I needed. And now in my 4th year of business, I have a digital media coach. And so one of the things that I want to do is to be able to land more speaking opportunities, to book more media features, whether it be magazine, news outlets, video, whatever that is. And so every stage of my business, I have had a coach or a mentor to just kind of help me catapult to the next level. So I think that has really been what's been the most instrumental in my journey as a public health entrepreneur. Okay, next question. Of everything that I have accomplished, what am I the most proud of? I'm not even going to talk about personally. I don't want to get emotional on this interview, but I will say professionally, and of course, that's why we're here. This is probably to date the thing that I'm most proud of is writing this book, because this book, a labor of love. You hear people say that all the time. It certainly was a labor of love, but I think it was akin to giving birth. And so I birthed a vision that no one could see. My co-authors bought into, but this vision, I believe, is going to help change lives. And so I'm really, really happy about the culmination of events and how they resulted in this book. I'll also say that I'm proud is that I'm just doing this. I remember leaving my six-figure corporate salary and one of my family members saying, we as in Black people, we don't do that. We don't leave good jobs like that. What are you doing? We don't do that. And I remember saying, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to take the chance. I'm going to take a risk, because if nobody knows me, I know me. I know what I'm capable of doing. And I really believe that if I can let this full-time job go, that I can make my business flourish. And I have been able to do so. So those are the things that I'm most proud of, that I was able to take the leap of faith, that I put myself in a position to be successful, that I grind every single day, and that I employ other people as well, that I'm able to pay and pay well because of this business, because that means a lot to me also. Okay, so my next question, what do you want people to think of when they hear the name of your business? What legacy do you want to leave behind? I actually should have thought about that question before the interview. So I think when people hear Umemba Health, I want them to think of excellence. Our last client that we actually developed some resources for their toolkit. I sent out the customer satisfaction survey like I do after every project to get feedback. And one of the comments that was completed said, Umemba is one of the best consultants we've ever worked with. That's what I want people to think about when they think about Umemba Health. When we get feedback from participants in our workshop saying, this is the best workshop or one of the best workshops I've ever attended in my life, that's how I want people to know us. And so when there's any kind of training in public health on any topic, whether it's cultural competency, social determinants of health, communication, leadership, relationship building, whatever that is, I want Umemba Health to be top of mind as the premier organization that provides transformative public health workforce development. So if I could put it in a word, excellence, that we just have a standard of excellence that is hard to beat. Okay, so next question. What are your favorite projects to work on and why? And I talked about this a little bit in the book. I love any project that allows me to use my nursing background as well as my public health background. So I say there are projects that lie at the intersection of healthcare and public health. And I know a lot of people use those terms synonymously, but because I am a nurse and a public health practitioner, I do not. And so if someone says, hey, we're trying to develop a stroke program and we want to use CHWs to lead this intervention, that's right up my alley, because I get to use the information that I know about strokes and about chronic diseases and about what causes strokes and how you prevent them and all of those other things and the medications and all of that, and couple it with what I know about public health and the support and the resources that are needed, and how we can help people when they go home, when they're discharged, or how to keep them from the hospital in the first place. So I love those type of projects where I can bring in my medical background, my clinical background, as well as my public health background. And then the last question is, how can businesses work with you? And of course, if you've read the book, you know exactly how you can. But if you have not quite read the entire book, work with me at Umemba Health by shooting us an email. Go to umembahealth.com. Or you can email me directly, Quisha, Quisha, @umembahealth.com. You can find us on all social media platforms except for X, formerly known as Twitter. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. And if you just want to follow and connect with me, you can do that as well at Quisha Umemba at all platforms, or you might want to even try at PublicHealthPreneur, because that will give you access to me as well. So I hope that you have found this extended interview and exclusive content valuable. I hope you've learned a little bit more about me and why I wrote the book. I invite you, if you've not already, to watch the interviews with my co-authors. I think you'll get a lot of value out of those interviews as well. And please utilize the resources on the bonus content page. Lots of goodies there for you to help you build, start, grow, or scale your public health consulting business. And I hope to see you in another video very soon. Thank you so much. Take care.